Honorable Chairperson of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament and bureaus of committees, it is now my pleasure to call upon Mr. Sami Obeng, Executive Director of the Parliamentary Network of Africa, who is the representative of the PAP Civil Society Forum, to come and give his remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Honorable Chairperson of the Permanent Committee on Justice and Human Rights, and honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament here present, the clerk, deputy clerks, and staff of the Pan-African Parliament present, Honorable Jesse Majome, who delivered the awesome keynote, the head of ECOSOC Secretariat, colleagues from civil society organizations, ladies and gentlemen. As a leader of the network of parliamentary monitoring civil society organizations across Africa, I truly acknowledge the importance of such parliament civil society engagements, whether it is happening at the continental level or at the national level or whichever level it is happening at. In various countries that we have worked in as civil society parliamentary monitoring organizations, we have seen many models used, and we commend the Pan-African Parliament for this model, this approach, in engaging the Pan-African Parliament, in engaging civil society organizations across the board. And it is to also encourage the Center for Human Rights, the Pan-African Parliament, that this tangent is a very important tangent, a tangent that certainly needs to be continued. We need to encourage ourselves to ensure that this happens consistently, because the benefits of these engagements will be tremendous for all of us. On this note, I would also want to congratulate the Pan-African Parliament for 20 years of its existence. And I think that going into the third decade of the existence of the Pan-African Parliament, such engagements between civil society organization and Parliament could help better enrich, the conversations that happens. Now, in the course of today's discussions, we have seen that there's been great value proposition for Parliament civil society engagement. We've had amazing presentations, we've had conversations, there's been ideas, there's been some recommendations that have been put forward. This has also allowed the opportunity for us to listen to the trajectory of the Pan-African Parliament Civil Society Forum, the work that it has done over the years, the fact that indeed there is still more room for improvement, but at least it has come to satisfy a very important gap that existed. And of course, during the various presentations, Madam Clerk, in her very amazing moderation ability, summarized many of the conversations that took place, of course, supported by the moderation from the chair and Dr. Remember, Mr. Chiang during the other sessions, and we wish to thank you all very, very much for this. But even as we get ready to leave, it is important that I provide you a few important numbers, which for me I think will be some food for thought for us to brood over as we go into our homes, as we get into our regular daily lives. Like they say, the devil sometimes can be in the detail of the numbers. So it's been 6 years of relationship between the Pan-African Parliament and civil society under the auspices of this PAP Civil Society Forum. Our last such engagement was a little over 400 days ago, where we had met. We were very enthusiastic that for the very first time we've had a first formal direct communication between the civil society and members of the Pan-African Parliament in that May meeting that was organized last year. We were very eager about the fact that, the various ideas that came up were going to be taken forward. And the Pan-African Parliament assured us indeed of that. And we're very confident that these assurances will take place. We understand clearly that there's been some challenges at the Parliament, for which reason the intention to have some of these recommendations taken to the committee level in August, which was part of the conversation that was held last year, taken to the committee level in August for purposes of discussions before the full bit comes out, could not happen because of the circumstances in here. But we are assured by the indications given by the clerk on the fact that this will be taken forward at committee level, discussions held, and then we can be able to see the full length of all of these. Last year, there were 6 thematic areas that came up, 42 specific recommendation areas from last year's arrangements. Today, there's been 2 new thematic areas that have been added on. We are very sure that at the end of it all, there will be many other additional recommendations or idea areas that must be taken up. And we hope that these will truly be taken up. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that all throughout engagement between civil society and parliaments, one of the cardinal sins that can happen is when convenings such as this are held, conversations are engaged in, but the outcome of these conversations ends up in the meeting room. Do not go further beyond the meeting room. When this happens consistently, what happens then is that there is that lack of trust in the system, and then we are unable to have similar convenience going forward. But we trust that these conversations will be taken forward at the Pan-African Parliament level for us to be able to see the benefit of these conversations going forward. And you can trust us also as civil society organizations to be willing and able to work with the Pan-African Parliament consistently on advancing some of these causes. To conclude, Mr. Chair, honorable members, like Siamese twins, and I choose to use Siamese twins and not identical twins. Civil society and parliament can be considered as Siamese twins. We are not identical because you are parliament. What you do is not what we do. We cannot compare ourselves to parliament. But as Siamese twins, we believe that we all have common agenda, common aims, common goals and objectives, which includes ensuring that the people of Africa are represented well, ensuring that Parliament delivers on its oversight mandate, ensuring that the quasi-legislative functions that the Pan-African Parliament plays are played very well, and also ensuring that the power of the purse function that the Pan-African Parliament plays are placed very, very well. Please be rest assured that civil society organizations under this umbrella are very interested in what the Pan-African Parliament does. When Bonolo spoke, she spoke about how there's been engagements around this PAPS CSO forum in East, West, and Southern Africa. In all of these meetings that we've been privileged to be a part of, there is that eagerness for civil society at the national level, regional level, to work with the Pan-African Parliament. And it is very evident in the conversations that have taken place today, which has shown that we all trust that the Pan-African Parliament has a very significant role to play. But in all of the roles that you play, you need to trickle it down also at the country level. And at these country levels, you have in us, as civil society parliamentary monitoring organizations at national level, a reliable ally who will be more than willing and able to work with you to advance on some of these causes. Sometimes it will be a love-hate relationship, because whereas we will be collaborators, there will be times we will have to call you out as parliaments like we always do. But please understand that that is in the essence of the work that we do as civil society organizations. And let's have this relationship between civil society organizations and parliament blossom and blossom well. I thank you all very, very much for staying the course and being with us throughout this conversation. Of course, a very big thank you on behalf of us as civil society organizations goes to the Pan-African Parliament, the President and members of the Bureau, the Clerk and Secretariat, who have done an awesome job in helping us to keep this together, the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria, Bonolo and her team, who have worked very hard in making sure that this happens, the amazing speakers who delivered fantastic papers, great recommendations on the ways forward on some of these things, which will be taken forward going further. And of course, all of you, colleagues from civil society organizations who have made this awesome. How can I end by not acknowledging you, the members of this Pan-African Parliament, who on a Saturday took time off to join us to have this amazing conversation. We thank you very, very much for making it. And we look forward to seeing you again. This time around, being able to count on how many of the conversations that have happened here, which we've been able to take forward, which we've been able to implement, so that these conversations do not end in this room. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Obeng, for representing civil society ably in your final remarks at the end of these proceedings.